the real physical standards of today's boot camp. When people picture the physical demands of basic training, Hollywood almost always gives the same image. A recruit in the dirt, cranking out push-ups until their arms give out. Sweat pours, their body shakes, the drill sergeant yells, and finally they collapse as the rest of the unit looks on. It's dramatic, and it's easy for audiences to grasp. Punishment equals push-ups. But in reality, 2025 boot camp operates under a much more precise system. The physical standards are built around the Army Fitness Test, or ARF, which became the official test of record on June 1, 2025. Far from a movie-style endurance trial, the ARF is designed to measure whether a soldier can perform the very tasks they will face in combat, not just survive repetitive calisthenics. By January 1, 2026, sex-neutral standards for combat specialties will also be fully phased in, making the test even clearer in its intent: capability over identity. The AFT consists of 5 events. Each one was chosen to replicate a functional battlefield demand. Gone are the days when soldiers lined up for simple sit-ups and long jogs. The current events are the 3-repetition maximum deadlift, hand-release push-ups, sprint drag carry, plank hold, and the 2-mile run. One event from the older Army Combat Fitness Test, the standing power throw, was officially removed when the AFT took effect in 2025. Together, the 5 remaining events balance strength, endurance, agility, and stamina in a way that maps directly to what soldiers might be asked to do under fire. Older tests measured general stamina. The AFT measures combat readiness. The deadlift translates to load carriage, the sprint drag carry to casualty evacuation, hand-release push-ups to sustained upper body endurance, the plank to core stability under strain, and the run to aerobic capacity. The deadlift event is simple in form, but demanding in practice. Recruits must pull a weighted barbell from the ground for 3 controlled repetitions. The weight isn't chosen for show. It represents heavy gear, ammunition crates, or a wounded comrade who needs to be lifted or shifted in combat. This movement ensures soldiers can generate real-world strength from the ground up. It filters out those who arrive with only endurance in their background, reminding recruits that battlefield tasks usually start with brute lifting power. Hand-release push-ups replace the older style of timed push-ups. In this version, soldiers lower fully to the ground, briefly lift their hands clear, then press up again. The motion ensures full range of motion and eliminates the kind of shallow, rushed reps that once earned points without building much real strength. It also better simulates the kind of upper body endurance needed to push off the ground while carrying gear or to maintain stability while shooting from prone positions. Unlike the exaggerated image of endless push-ups leading to collapse, this is a controlled, technical test of stamina and form. The sprint drag carry combines multiple tasks in one high-intensity event. Recruits sprint, then drag a heavy sled across a short distance, shuttle sideways, carry weighted objects, and sprint again, all under time pressure. That kind of circuit does not appear in films, but its purpose is obvious. Combat tasks often involve speed, dragging wounded teammates, and moving equipment while under duress. It demands explosive energy and coordination, testing how well a soldier can shift gears from one strain to another quickly. The plank replaced the leg tuck event and remains one of the most revealing measures of core endurance. Holding that rigid position for as long as possible exposes weaknesses in abdominal and lower back strength, muscle groups that stabilize almost every combat movement, from carrying a rucksack to firing in awkward positions. Hollywood has never lingered on something as visually static as a plank hold, but in boot camp, this test is vital. Drill instructors know that core stability reduces injury risk and directly influences long-term sustainability on deployment. Finally, the 2-mile run still plays a role, but no longer dominates the assessment like in previous tests. In the past, endurance running defined pass-fail status, meaning a natural runner could thrive while lacking other critical abilities. In today's system, the run is balanced against 4 other events. It remains essential. Combat still requires the ability to move over distance at speed, But it's only one piece of a larger, functional picture. Taken together, the AFT reflects a complete shift in how the Army views physical readiness. It's not about whether someone can grind through endless repetitions of a single exercise. It's about whether they can show total body balance across strength, power, speed, core endurance, and aerobic capacity. This emphasis ensures that all recruits leave basic training prepared for combat tasks that demand variety, not simply one type of athleticism. For the Army, that means a formation filled with individuals who can lift, carry, sprint, and recover under pressure, rather than a group divided between runners, lifters, and everyone struggling in between. Daily training at boot camp mirrors these standards. Recruits now cycle through structured workouts designed to build skills relevant to each of the 5 events. One training block might focus on lifting mechanics and grip strength for the deadlift. Another might center on sprint intervals and sled drags to rehearse for the sprint drag carry. Core circuits prepare recruits for long planks, while steady distance running maintains aerobic capacity. Instead of arbitrary push-up punishments as movie scenes suggest, training feels deliberate, targeted, and directly mapped to the test they'll ultimately face. Obstacle courses still appear in training, and in this context they serve as a natural integration tool. When recruits crawl under wire, climb walls, or carry equipment across uneven ground, instructors are essentially putting AFT skills into action under time stress. The climb requires grip and upper body endurance tested in push-ups and planks. The rush across terrain echoes sprint drag carry demands. These events prove whether recruits can blend isolated abilities into sustained performance, something a stopwatch on a push-up pit never truly revealed. Scoring has also evolved. Demographics, age or gender, no longer dominate expectation charts. Standards now focus almost entirely on whether someone can complete the event requirements that reflect combat performance. This transition continues into early 2026 when combat MOS fields adopt fully sex-neutral thresholds. In practice, that means a female and male recruit headed toward the same combat specialty face identical physical requirements. For leadership, this removes lingering questions of fairness and ensures that when soldiers are deployed, every member of the team brings the same physical foundation to the table. The shift has changed how recruits prepare before even arriving at basic training. Younger candidates now understand that being a good runner or having general aerobic health is not enough. Those without strength backgrounds know they must build pulling and lifting power to pass the deadlift. Those focused on weightlifting understand that conditioning and endurance cannot be ignored. In this way, the AFT has raised the bar, producing entrants to the Army who are more rounded even before drill sergeants begin molding them. From the instructor side, the AFT provides powerful coaching tools. Because every event is scored and logged, trainers can identify weaknesses and modify programming. A recruit exceeding run standards but failing deadlift expectations will have targeted sessions to close that gap. Someone steady in plank endurance but slow in sprint drag carry may need more explosive drills. The system ensures no soldier graduates with glaring holes in capability. The data-driven approach means physical readiness is no longer judged by appearance or arbitrary endurance feats, but by documented, functional performance. The results have been clear. Soldiers emerging from training in 2025 show greater balanced readiness than those trained under the past systems. Units no longer rely on only a few strong or fast individuals to carry weight for the others. Instead, platoons graduate with more consistent physical ability across the formation. This translates directly into battlefield advantage. More soldiers able to lift loads, perform evacuations, sustain sprints with gear, and recover quickly for rounds of effort. Hollywood may prefer to dramatize collapse after push-ups, but the Army prefers consistency across every soldier. Push-ups haven't vanished from boot camp. They remain part of the training toolkit and contribute to the hand-release push-up event, but they are no longer the centerpiece of punishment or the ultimate test of worth. The larger system places them in context, one ingredient in a layered recipe that ensures new soldiers can actually fight, move, and survive under strain. That's the critical point films miss. Nobody graduates for doing more push-ups than their peers. They graduate by passing a test that measures everything a combat-ready soldier must realistically do. And while the physical test demonstrates how modern training has shifted toward functional demands, that's only half of what shapes a capable soldier. What really separates Hollywood's version from today's reality isn't just found in muscle, stamina, or conditioning. It also lies in how recruits are taught to handle weapons, a part of training that movies often exaggerate just as much as those endless push-up scenes. Weapons training, what movies still get wrong. When Hollywood chooses to show weapons training, it often highlights either intense slow-motion disassemblies or long, noisy scenes on a firing line. The audience sees rifles slammed down on tables, recruits racing against each other to strip and reassemble guns, or characters firing endless rounds as if volume alone proves skill. These choices make for sharp visuals, but they depict only the surface and omit how actual training works in 2025. The current system is far less theatrical. It emphasizes structured repetition, simulation technology, and gradual skill building. A recruit in today's army often spends significant time with advanced simulators before handling live ammunition on a range. The system prioritizes fundamentals taught through monitored repetitions rather than spectacle, and that detail rarely makes it on screen. Simulators stand at the center of this change. Recruits now encounter digital weapon systems before they handle real rifles. These simulator platforms use highly realistic replicas integrated with augmented environments that project ranges, varying terrain, and moving targets. Each trigger pull, stance adjustment, and aiming error is tracked instantly. Instructors receive digital reports that highlight grip stability, sight alignment, and trigger control in real time, giving them immediate diagnostic tools rather than relying on guesswork about where a shot landed downrange. This detail makes a fundamental difference between a cinematic row of paper silhouettes and the Army's smart ranges, where every action is measured and fed back into instruction. The Army has invested heavily in this technology. The synthetic training environment and its live training system prototypes even include haptics designed to simulate recall and battlefield stress cues inside digital drills. Those advancements make the simulator feedback feel closer to live fire, while preserving the controlled conditions needed for novices. In practice, recruits build correct habits without worrying about wasting ammunition or losing accuracy under the distraction of recall. When they transition to live ranges, they already carry the muscle memory and discipline formed electronically, which reduces early mistakes and raises overall performance. Film depictions often portray weapons training as either chaotic or competitive. In a movie, soldiers may appear shoulder to shoulder spraying rounds without pause, or competing under extreme time pressure to break down rifles for dramatic effect. The real approach is organized and progressive. Simulator sessions allow large numbers of recruits to receive multiple repetitions without pausing for spent rounds or range resets. That efficiency keeps training continuous and maximizes feedback. Instructors can monitor several soldiers simultaneously, watching the data stream rather than attempting to judge visually through guesswork. In this way, each recruit's weaknesses, trigger jerk, aim drift, poor recovery time, emerge in clear metrics that can be corrected step by step. Shooting becomes less about whether someone looks skilled and more about whether they demonstrate repeatable fundamentals. Weapons disassembly remains, but not in the competitive style films tend to show. Maintenance and familiarity are the real goals, learning how to correctly clean, inspect, and reassemble a rifle so it works in any environment. A recruit is evaluated on doing it safely, methodically, and reliably. Perfect accuracy matters more than shaving seconds off performance. A trainee who reassembles slowly but correctly succeeds, while one who rushes and omits critical steps fails. The Army reinforces that weapons are tools to maintain, not props for dramatic races. Modern simulators add another element completely absent from Hollywood portrayal: situational variability. Augmented ranges can reproduce urban alleys, woodland terrain, or open desert. They can also factor in stress conditions. Recruits might be asked to engage targets in dim light or attempt accuracy immediately after sprinting weighted distances. These scenarios assess whether fundamentals hold under stress, not just on a static range. Actual combat requires firing while fatigued, distracted, or adjusting to fast-changing conditions. By simulating these pressures early, training reduces the gap between early repetition and battlefield application. Safety also drives this reliance on simulation. Films never depict the reality of dozens of inexperienced recruits holding live rifles simultaneously. In actual training, much of the initial emphasis on simulators exists to ensure recruits embed muzzle discipline, learn correct trigger handling, and practice safe procedures before live ammunition ever enters the equation. Inevitably, incidents are reduced because soldiers hit the live range already conditioned to the fundamentals. Recruits no longer need to learn and fire simultaneously, which lowers both waste and risk. Once soldiers arrive at live fire stages, their progression shifts from skill acquisition to application. Instructors evaluate beyond simple hit or miss tallies. They measure rate of recovery after each shot, speed to first round, shot group consistency over time, and changes in accuracy when heart rate elevates. That level of analysis requires more than paper targets, so smart instrumentation accompanies live ranges. If a recruit demonstrates accuracy when static but falters after exertion, data identifies whether stance, breath control, or fatigue is the cause. Training then adapts accordingly. Instead of vague encouragement, recruits receive specific feedback tied to observed metrics. The rhythm of the training cycle underscores this difference from cinematic portrayals. Soldiers do not spend every day in endless firing lines. They rotate among classrooms, drills on mechanical function, simulator sessions, and structured live fire blocks. Time is managed tightly to ensure every recruit gains repetitions instead of standing idle as others fire. While films exaggerate firing sequences to heighten tension, the Army designs daily blocks as a systematic progression. By graduation, recruits have moved from simple familiarization to practical application against timed, stressed, and variable conditions. This process reflects what modern combat actually demands. Soldiers are expected to use their weapons effectively under constrained circumstances. Ammunition must be conserved. Decisions about when to fire carry as much weight as the ability to hit. The Army stresses confidence and consistency over romantic attachment to a rifle, rejecting the cinematic trope of the weapon as an emotional centerpiece. Proficiency is measured by competence, not the intensity of devotion a character displays. In discussing these contrasts, it becomes clear how far training has stepped away from familiar media images. Smart feedback, haptic simulations, and structured discipline create soldiers prepared for complex and shifting combat environments. It is not glamorous, and it rarely suits a dramatic script. But this emphasis on analytics and targeted progression equips recruits with real confidence supported by evidence of their own improvement. And while the weapons component stands apart in its reliance on technology and data, the underlying pattern tracks closely with other transformations in modern training. The Army in 2025 consistently shifts from spectacle toward methods that build resilience and skill without unnecessary harm. This same philosophy carries over when addressing discipline. Another element films consistently sensationalize in ways that bear little resemblance to the systems recruits actually face. Discipline without physical abuse. In today's Army, discipline looks nothing like the harsh scenes audiences are used to seeing in movies. Hazing and physical abuse are prohibited. Modern corrections use structured consequences and group accountability. That ban isn't symbolic. It is fully enforced, with reporting channels and leadership oversight in place to remove any instructor who crosses the line. What matters now is how well recruits learn to operate under stress, accept responsibility, and support their teammates. Pressure remains a central part of the environment, but it is applied through systems designed to teach, not to harm. The change away from abusive methods has been a long process. Over decades, the Army steadily tightened regulations to remove hazing, excessive punishment, and any form of physical misconduct. Today, these practices are illegal and counterproductive and can end a drill sergeant's career. Every instructor receives formal training that explains the difference between acceptable correction and prohibited behavior. Rather than tolerating extremes, the Army expects drill sergeants to uphold standards in a way that is professional, predictable, and effective. That approach ensures discipline builds trust and capability rather than fear or resentment. One of the main tools is the use of controlled stress exercises. These are designed to mimic the types of pressure recruits will face in military life. Instead of being forced into arbitrary physical drills, a mistake might result in a timed task where the group must complete a mission faster than seems possible. For instance, if a platoon misses a formation time, they might face a drill where every second they lose adds to the collective effort required. As a result, discipline occurs through exposure to stressful, mission-driven tasks rather than direct punishment. Recruits learn quickly that choices have clear and lasting consequences. Group accountability reinforces those lessons. In modern boot camp, errors do not isolate one recruit for public humiliation while the others watch. Instead, the entire squad shares the outcome of poor performance. If someone fails to pack their gear correctly, the group must repeat the packing drill until everyone achieves the standard. This approach mirrors combat reality, where one soldier's mistake can affect the entire unit. Training recruits in this way not only disciplines the individual, but also strengthens the bond among teammates, since peers now push each other to prevent mistakes from happening in the first place. Consider a typical scenario. A recruit neglects to bring the right gear to a training event. Instead of being singled out for physical abuse, the unit might be required to repeat the entire preparation process together. Everyone loses time, everyone falls behind schedule, and the group feels the impact until the issue is corrected. The lesson is direct. The unit depends on each member meeting standards, and failures carry shared weight. This system produces long-term accountability because recruits cannot escape the knowledge that their actions affect the whole team. Another method instructors apply involves team challenges. Rather than shouting matches or extreme punishments, drill sergeants construct tasks that emphasize communication and shared responsibility. Moving heavy equipment over terrain, solving a logistical puzzle against the clock, or coordinating under pressure. These exercises all generate stress without abuse. The difficulty disciplines the group because breakdowns in planning or effort make progress impossible. Soldiers learn discipline not from being torn down by an instructor's anger, but from realizing their squad cannot succeed unless everyone works together.